Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and Thor Ragnarok saved the Thor movies by burning everything to the ground. While I have talked about this movie's Easter eggs years ago, there remain overlooked visual and filmmaking details from Taika Waititi that make Ragnarok even more revolutionary to rewatch after Endgame. Okay, we open on the Marvel Studios logo, foreshadowing, of course, Asgard's fiery end, along with the fact that Thor is saying everything he's saying to a dead guy. Ragnarok's end is truly in its beginning here. It's a story about accepting fate. In the way that Tony Stark's third film was a confession about the story behind his destroyed home, Thor's third film stokes a similar fire. Surtur here promises,
I will tower over the mountains and bury my sword deep in Asgard.
Hang on. Thor's hilarious rotating allows him to immaturely turn a blind eye to Surtur's promise, but Ragnarok as a concept is a mythological phase. Another step in the cycle, the rotation that a more mature, one-eyed Thor will learn to accept as his natural fate. His summoning of Mjolnir is delayed, as it has been before, and Immigrant Song plays, Led Zeppelin's Viking war cry with lyrics like Hammer of the Gods, Valhalla I am coming. How has this song not been used in a Thor movie yet? The rock music signals Ragnarok's departure from its predecessors, but also its restoration to the true themes of Norse mythology, of destruction. Taika keeps the camera point of view on Mjolnir, kind of giving it life and soul during its final victory before its destruction. But also, like all things post-Ragnarok, it gets reborn and transformed in Endgame. Summoning Thor with the Bifrost is Scourge, Carl Urban, our man from The Boys. His ladies later show up on the Bifrost bridge. They lead the fight against him, putting even more of a face on the Asgardians he betrayed. And the Bifrost severs the head of that fire dragon, a wonderful heighten on that gag of the severed police car in Dark World. You know, every day I sit here in the Blue Dungeon and wish that I could break out and upgrade my digs. Well, now with Hustle Castle, we can all be the lords of our own medieval castles. Your warriors attack enemy fortresses and earn you rewards that you can use to build up your castle, just like my dad in the Home Depot garden aisle when I was growing up. You can build up your archers and swordsmen to fight invading orcs, giants, and dragons who serve the demonic lords of the abyss. I liked fighting these fire monster guys, which look a lot like the anxiety dreams that give me night sweats. You mix and match the armor and weapons of your warriors to make them better in battle. Here's a tip, you can get more inhabitants in your castle to help you by adding living rooms that make them reproduce, just like my dad in the Home Depot garden aisle. Find my clan name under New Rockstars and join it so that we can play together. Download Hustle Castle via my link below, enter your nickname and get a special bonus for new players, 250 diamonds and 3,500 gold pieces. Again, you can download Hustle Castle via my link below and enter your nickname for a special new player bonus. With Loki posing as Odin since Dark World, Asgard has now been Lokified. He erected a huge statue. He actually embodies this exact pose later when he returns to save them. And the theater where he stages his own tribute play has Loki antlers on it. The play romanticizes Loki's fake death on Svartalfheim.
I didn't do it for him.
I didn't do it for him.
Matt Damon plays Loki, a nod to him playing the angel Loki in Kevin Smith's Dogma. Luke Hemsworth is Thor, and Taika pal Sam Neill plays Odin. And if you listen closely, the chorus is actually singing the funeral theme that we heard for Frigga in The Dark World. Actually, later, Loki will continue printing his legend, his later story being about him letting go and falling from Asgard at the ending of the first film.
At that moment, I let go.
We also get a mention of a past time Loki turned Thor into a frog, which is actually a nod to a 1986 Walt Simonson comic where Loki does this. There is also a frog version of Thor in the comics called Throg. Always gotta bring that up whenever I can. Thor also calls back another Simonson comic moment by threatening Loki with his returning hammer.
Nothing will stop me as it returns to my hand.
Something will. Onto the Bifrost jump to Midgard. They actually pass through what looks like an eye, similar to Stephen Strange's passing through an eye. Heimdall's orange eyes normally are the link between realms, but this pupil is green, which is the color of Scourge's eyes, who has taken over the Bifrost for the moment. Shady Acres Retirement Home is a long-time gag for movies and TV. You might have seen it in South Park. It's originally from Ace Ventura, when it was actually a pun on that movie's writer's name, Tom Shadyac. Thor disguises Mjolnir as an umbrella, which is a nod to his comic secret identity, Donald Blake, who did that. Though Doctor Strange sees right through that illusion.
God of Thunder.
Loki says,
Can't see into the future, I'm not a witch.
No,
Why'd you dress like one?
After Endgame came out, some fans realized that this is how Frigga, who is a witch, so quickly recognized her son's future self.
I was raised by witches, boy.
And here a fangirl says,
Sorry to hear that Jane dumped you.
this is actually a cameo by Chris Hemsworth's cousin, Taylor Hemsworth. Thor thinks Loki turned into a card, but then he meets Doctor Strange, and behind them are the Crimson Bands of Cyttorak that Strange used to dominate Caecilius. Now before the awesome self-refilling beer, Strange offers Thor tea. This is from the same type of teacup that Strange was offered by the Ancient One in Camartage. That tea was to help settle Strange's stomach before he was transported around the multiverse. Strange is making the same offer to Thor here, but Thor's choice of beer makes his dizziness from being transported around a lot worse. Now, a detail we have pointed out before, to find Odin, Strange uses Thor's hair to make Odin's triquetra symbol, which is also in Odin's vault and on Mjolnir when he charmed it with that whisper. They find him in Norway.
My sons, I've been waiting for you.
Loki is surprised to be called one of his sons, despite his betrayal, which is a regret that he will echo in Infinity War.
I, Loki, Prince of Asgard, Odin's son.
Odin warns,
It's already begun. She's coming. My life was all that held her back, but my time has come. I cannot keep her away any longer.
Oh, who are you talking about?
Goddess of death, Hela. Her firstborn. Your sister.
we did get a hint to this secret firstborn from Frigga and Thor.
Thor, Odin's son, my heir, my firstborn.
And when Odin dies, his particles float out to sea, like Frigga's did. Except here, we don't see whether they get sucked up to Valhalla or not, which reflects Odin's moral cloudiness. Before he dies, he leaves them with this.
Remember this place. Home.
Of course, this right here is near Tonsberg, Norway, the site of his Frost Giants battle in the first Thor movie, and the church in the Cap 1 prologue, and of course the future home of New Asgard in Endgame. Hela arrives. Fans last year noticed her clothes are torn, but they get repaired when her strength is restored in Asgard.
Kneel.
Beg your pardon.
Loki doesn't miss a beat because she just took his favorite order.
I said.
Hela catches Mjolnir and she refuses to release it when Thor's trying to recall it. Later, we'll see the Asgard ceiling art revealing she once wielded Mjolnir before Thor did. She shatters it, she chases them in the Bifrost. As they scrape the edge of the Bifrost, it breaks up into these crystal shards. Some interesting production design reflecting the fiberglassy composition of the footbridge itself. Hela immediately kills Volstagg and Fandral, and her coming seizure of Asgard is signaled with Taika's framing of her antlers clutching the palace. Throughout this film, as her power grows, her antlers will open up wider and wider, like deadly claws reaching up from the underworld to strangle the roots of Yggdrasil. As we fly to Sakaar, we pass one planet in the shadow of an eclipse. I'm wondering if this could be Vormir, revealed in Infinity War, which was cast in the shadow of a sick eclipse. But then again, Svartalfheim also had an eclipse. Could be that. There's a lot of eclipses. Points are, eclipses are cool. On Sakaar, Thor is fought over by Scrappers and Valkyrie. The net and the obedience chip that they restrain him with, that he can't get out of even with his God of Thunder powers, connect to his central nervous system. Notice the blue streaks that the nodes and the chip leave in his skin. Thor's dumb face smushes against the window of their ship, setting up his upcoming meeting with the Guardians in Infinity War.
Scrapper 142, I need clearance and an audience with the boss.
142 is a reference to the comic Incredible Hulk number 142, which is when Valkyrie joins Hulk. The Grand Master's palace includes statues showing Hulk, along with past champs, including Marvel figures like Ares, Bi-Beast, Man-Thing, and Beta Ray Bill, the Corbinite Thor's successor, who might have shown up in skull form a few places that we've seen. Hela wipes out the Asgardian defenses, including Hogun. She crushes one guy's helmet around his head, cracking it. Ugh. And as we saw with Mjolnir before, the camera stays fixed on the hilt of her dagger as she takes down the soldier. Thor enters the Grandmaster's palace.
Surrounded by cosmic gateways, Sakaar lives on the edge of the known and unknown. It is the collection point.
The music here is pure imagination from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, a movie that has a similar nightmare tunnel sequence conducted by an eccentric goof. One of the past victors Thor passes is this three-headed fella named Heijo. We actually see him later, and his three heads are mocap and stunt actor Shane Rangi in the middle, Taika Waititi's head on the right, and Chris Hemsworth's head on the left. Now, the Grandmaster is an elder of the universe, brother to Tanalir Tavan, the Collector. He pardons cousin Carlo and then kills him.
I pardon you.
Oh, thank you.
You're officially pardoned.
from life.
Goldblum's gesture is a super dark reference to Schindler's List.
Go ahead, go on, leave. I pardon you. I pardon you.
Yeah, so like Ray finds, the Grandmaster's pretty evil. Loki calls back the joke from Avengers.
He's my brother.
Adopted.
And he's my brother.
He killed 80 people in 2 days.
He's adopted.
And Thor meets Korg, voiced and performed by Taika Waititi, along with Meek. Now, Korg is a Cronin, one of whom Thor wrecked in the Dark World, and 2 others in Guardians Zip By in Volume 2.
You don't need to be afraid unless you're made of scissors. Just a little rock, paper, scissors joke for you.
Now, later, Korg says that he stepped on Meek, who has scissor arms. Rock beats scissors. And this joke extends back to when Drax said about the Sakarans.
I think of Sakaran as paper people.
So paper imprisons rock. Korg introduces us to Doug.
Doug has? Doug! Oh, no, Doug's dead.
Doug is purple with green clothes, matching Thor's street clothes earlier, and they're both inverses of Hulk's purple on green color scheme. Hela reveals the true history of Asgard.
Does no one remember me? Has no one been taught our history?
Hela is obsessed with her reputation and placement in history.
It's come to my attention that you don't know who I am.
Like Thor, Hela fails to understand that Ragnarok must wipe Asgard's slate completely clean, including her history. Now, the mural that she brought down showed Loki from the Frost Giants in the first film, remember him? The one underneath shows a red sky reflecting the blood of their enemies, with Hela on the back of the wolf, Fenris. There's also art of her wielding Mjolnir herself. In Odin's vault, Hela clears up the old Infinity Gauntlet plot hole.
Fake.
We see the Casket of Ancient Winters.
Weak.
She approves of the Tesseract because it's a freaking Infinity Stone, but she shrugs off Surtur.
Smaller than I thought it would be.
Her underestimation of Surtur will come back to haunt her. Korg shows off a 3-pronged wooden weapon.
Want to use a big wooden fork?
No.
Yeah, not really useful unless you're fighting off 3 vampires that were huddled together.
Yeah, Taika's nodding to his film What We Do in the Shadows, which also became a great FX comedy series. It's about 3 vampires who live together in a cramped home. Stan Lee shows up cutting Thor's hair. Now, if you think about it, he must have also cut Hulk's hair. I don't know how he would have done that, because Hulk's hair is shorter here than when we saw it in Age of Ultron. Thor enters the arena.
Watch out for his fingers, they make sparks.
It's a throwaway here, but his inner God of Thunder powers are his secret weapon later on. Now, the Grandmaster's booth, like all the set design in this movie, is inspired very much by the artwork of Jack Kirby, and Taika snuck in a nod to Jack here. The background wallpaper is a color version of Kirby's Fantastic Four cover. Hulk is introduced here with these green smoke bombs. The color green in this movie has always signaled a threat to Thor, Loki, Hela, but now with Hulk he sees a friendly threat that he might be able to use.
You're incredible!
Hulk cuts off the Grandmaster's sentence because, as we've seen, being identified as Hulk, not Banner, is a big deal to him. So when Thor calls him Banner here, he's hostile.
Oh, Banner, I never thought I would say this, but I'm happy to see you. Banner. Hey, Banner.
No Banner, only Hulk.
Later, Thor successfully learns to call Hulk by his name, and Hulk cooperates.
Hulk, stop! Just for once in your life, don't smash!
Big monster.
Thor tries to recreate Natasha's Sun's Getting Real Low chant from Age of Ultron, but Hulk smashes Thor around like how he did with Loki in Avengers. And in the final blow of this fight, as Hulk comes down, if you look closely, you can see a bit of green, Hulk green, reflected in Thor's eye. Thor begins to plot his escape when he first sees his devil's anus, and he notices the ship exploding as he tries to get out, telling him that he needs to have the right ship to get out of here. But really what I love about this scene is the way the direction of the actors and the VFX on Naked Hulk do such a great job selling the gross gag here. So right as Hulk gets out of the hot tub, there's just a few frames where they slipped in a shadow for Hulk's, Rick and Morty just gave us a really gross term for this, but the V, the Voss V, implying something is tugging the muscle groups downward there. And as Hulk passes Thor, Chris Hemsworth looks all the way up, not just a bit up, but like all the way, because Hulk's crotch would line up with his chest. And we get some Hulk butt, which comes as the literal butt of the joke. Hulk throws fruit past Thor to trick Thor into thinking the doorway is safe to pass through.
Baby arms.
What?
Baby.
Moron, big child.
Thor, go.
I am going.
Later, Thor and Hulk do work together to escape. Hulk starts the scene by bouncing the ball against the wall. Notice that red circle's target? Its paint has worn down from all the other times Hulk has hit it, but that ball is actually a critical part of this escape plan because Hulk passes it to Thor and Thor uses it to crack the window.
That's what
So that he can use that blue shin guard from the battle earlier to crash through it. There's actually a moment where Thor signals Hulk to get ready to pass it to him, and that's where Hulk gets confused and he fumbles it. He gets to the Quinjet, where he learns Tony's nickname for him.
Point Break.
Welcome, Point Break.
Yes, a callback to Avengers.
No hard feelings, Point Break. You got a mean swing.
Hulk sees Natasha's video message from the end of Age of Ultron, and Hulk's eyes moisten a little as he softens and reverts to Banner. Banner sees his face superimposed on the Hulk's, which could be a nod to him using identities in Endgame, though Taika Waititi said that he had no idea what they were gonna do in Avengers Endgame, so it's probably just the dual identity Jekyll and Hyde imagery that we've always seen with Hulk. Taika uses this crazy shot on Loki and Valkyrie, with the camera swooping up through the floor, revealing their reflections to be the real them. It parallels a famous shot that Robert Zemeckis used in the movie Contact, and the next scene will reflect the true soul of Valkyrie, who mourns for Valkyrie. She actually returns with a Pegasus in Endgame. Love that coming back. But for this flashback, the crew used a technology called dynamic light, combining high-speed cameras with shifting lights and shadows to create the effect of a disoriented memory. Banner wears Tony Stark's clothes, including a Duran Duran Hungry Like a Wolf shirt, setting up Banner's coming battle with the wolf Fenris. And in the parade, he gets dusted in green. You can see him briefly dancing with everyone, but Banner has to hide his Hulkness from Valkyrie by wiping off the screen, but it's a losing battle because the walls of this place are bright green, reflecting green light on his face. Valkyrie mentions Xandar from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Refuel on Xandar and we can be back in Asgard in 18 months.
And Banner describes that devil's anus.
That looks like a collapsing neutron star inside of an Einstein-Rosen bridge.
Einstein-Rosen bridge is a wormhole. We learned that in the first film.
Einstein-Rosen bridge.
A what?
An Einstein-Rosen bridge is a theoretical connection between two different points of space.
It's a wormhole.
Thor and Loki use their old get help move to escape.
Get help! Please! My brother's dying! Get help! Help him!
Behind them is a ship that's just a floating cube that Taika claimed to design all by himself.
I designed this, and it's now in a movie. I didn't get paid for it.
Loki betrays Thor.
Never one for sentiment, were you? Easier to let it burn.
Yeah, Loki ends up being right in the final act. Accept fate, let it burn. They escape through the Devil's Anus and return to Asgard. During this, Hela finds Heimdall's hiding spot, tipping over the door with a Yggdrasil tree engraving. And she uses it as a drawbridge, reflecting her aim here to use Heimdall's Bifrost bridge across Yggdrasil to the other realms. Now, one of the more obvious details in this movie that you probably caught, the mural rubble showing Thor's face cracked through his right eye, of course, foretelling his coming loss of that eye. But what I love about this is the thematic connection to the first film. That blindness comes right as Thor finally sits on Odin's throne. It completes the coronation that was deferred in that movie's opening act. According to mythology, Odin gave up his eye to obtain cosmic wisdom, and so too must Thor in order to rise to the throne. Banner recreates that goofy helicopter dive from the first Hulk movie.
It'll be all right now. I got this. You wanted to know who I am?
What the hell are you talking about?
You'll see!
But he does Hulk out, he pulls back Fenris, and in this light you can see how the artist kept that chest scar from the moment Abomination stabbed him there. In a vision, Odin tells Thor that Asgard is not a place, it's a peephole. I think that's what he said. And he helps him summon his inner God of Thunder powers. Immigrant Song returns, and Thor cleans up. Now, I love how he still wears a piece of his Sakaar gladiator armor on his shoulder. Being a garbage warrior is now part of his identity. Shortly after the movie came out a few years ago, sword fighting experts pointed out how Thor is using half swording here. He's clubbing enemies with the hilt, and that's because he's more accustomed to fighting with a hammer than a blade. Scourge redeems his betrayal by firing Dez and Troy on Hela's army. This is adapted from an epic moment in the comic, Scourge's final stand at Yalarbru. Loki resurrects Surtur and pauses on the Tesseract, which we know he takes from the opening act of Infinity War. And Surtur does as promised, he brings about Ragnarok. And they include this shot of this world's tree getting swept up in the flames. Because this isn't just about Asgard, it's about all of life. On the Asgardian refugee trip, Thor tries to peg Loki again, thinking he's just appearing via projection, but this time, he's actually real, he catches it. But notice Thor wouldn't have hit Loki's head, because his missing eye is throwing off his aim, but still no excuse for not going for the head on Thanos. Now, one of my favorite details that fans have spotted a couple years ago, in the final shot, when Loki passes Hulk, Hulk briefly makes a fist, still not forgiving him from Avengers. What I love about it is they always do this with Hulk. They included this gesture in Endgame as well, with Hulk and Loki atop Avengers Tower during the time heist. Accepting their fate of their home's obliteration, they all realize that Asgard is not a place, it's a peep hell. I think that's what it is. And they set course for their new home of New Asgard on Earth. But we know from the post-credit scene and the opening act of Infinity War that only half of these Asgardians will make it. But the good news is, since they've already been halved, no more of them will dust when the snap happens. Therefore, when the surviving Asgardians reach their destination, they will be steps ahead on the road to recovery. And that's all because their leaders in this movie learned and taught them that death is a natural part of our fates that we must accept. Ragnarok as a film matured all of us to better prepare us for the darkness coming of Infinity War. Join our future watch-alongs on Discord by becoming a patron at patreon.com/newrockstars. And one more reminder to download Hustle Castle using my link below in the description and enter that nickname for a special new player bonus. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at EA Voss, follow New Rockstars, and subscribe as we move on to how I first reacted to those yummy looking foodies of Wakanda.
Got one. What are those?